I think this will be my last shirt for a while, unless I acquire or purchase some additional shirts along the way. But I wanted to take back my booktube power and make the decision of my own volition when I get a thumbs down. Because on every video, as I've been complaining about for weeks, every single one of my videos gets a thumbs down. One. Just one. Who knows who it is? A troll bot, a spammer, a watcher who just doesn't like me but continues to watch, somebody trying to think they're funny, whatever. But guess what? I'm gonna do it first, to myself. How do you like that? Hey Booktube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March. This is my bookish week for Saturday, July 3rd. It's been a decent bookish week. Decent, yeah, not great, but okay. I finished 3 books this week. One of them was for the Booktube Prize. All I can do is tell you what book that is, and that is After the Last Border by Jessica Goudeau. So I only have 2 more books to finish. One of them I'm almost done on audio, and then the other one is a big giant book. But let me tell you about the other 2 books that I finished. Both of them were on my Kindle. I've had them there for a long time, and with very few exceptions, the books on my Kindle are books that I've found as Kindle deals, or I've got a bunch of library books on there. I don't know, they wouldn't still be active at this point. But a few books that I've bought for my Kindle because it's kind of not really my primary mode of reading. I much prefer reading the hard copy book. So the books on my Kindle, I've purchased because, they came on sale and I was really interested in that. And the first one I read at the beginning of the week was called A Novel Death by Judy Culbertson. And this is what I guess you could describe as a cozy mystery or a cozy adjacent mystery. It's a murder mystery set in an old bookshop on kind of in a touristy waterfront town. Everybody knows everybody. It started off pretty good. And I was interested. I'm not usually a fan of cozy mysteries. I just simply don't read them very often. But I wanted something lighter. I've been reading a bunch of heavy nonfiction for the Booktube Prize. And I wanted something fun and plot heavy. And I started reading it, and it was interesting to start. It was an interesting premise of a murder in this little seaside town. The main character was named Delhi, D-E-H-L-I, from the city in India. Her parents at one point wanted to be missionaries in India, and they named her after that city, even though they never made it to India. So it was a little hokey and corny, but she's not even like a police officer. She's an online book dealer, but she was the main character that tried to get to the bottom of this murder mystery. The owner of a local antique bookstore was injured and almost killed, and her assistant or other person that worked in the bookshop was murdered. So that's the mystery. It was okay. It was a plot. It was kind of plot driven, and there's a lot of clues along the way, different characters, so much good conversation about book buying and book selling and bookstores. There were some weird things that happened in the book. The main character is not romantically attached, but she ended up having crushes or kissing her ex-husband and also another man in the story. And it was like, was that really necessary? It was a good story, and it kept me reading, but by the end, there were too many loose ends that she never wrapped up. And characters along the way that didn't really need to be part of the story. And that's an author's prerogative. They can write about who they want to. And actually, the book in several ways was kind of racist. This was written in 2010, I believe. And there was some racial stereotypes in there that were just offensive. So it was all right, and I did finish it. The other one, again, another mystery, but this was more like a police procedural mystery, and it is Last Day by Luann Rice. This was the very first Luann Rice book I've ever picked up. She's a fairly well-known romance author, and she's got over 30 books out there. And again, this was on my Kindle. I just recently purchased it. It was published in 2020, I believe. This is a standalone book. A lot of her books are romance series. This was a standalone. And it's, again, set in a kind of a well-off Connecticut waterfront community. It centers around a group of 4 girlfriends who have been friends since they were children. There is, again, a murder mystery. One of the 4 friends has been murdered. She is a wealthy art gallery owner in the town, and she's married. The marriage was in trouble. We know that from the very beginning. So obviously the first suspect is the husband. This one was much more well written than the previous mystery I read. And the characters were interesting. There was a lot of history in the backstory, and so we got to know each of these characters and whether or not they were crucial to the story and how they ended up where they were. So, and it was technically well written. I was really interested in reading it. But when we find out who the murderer was, my thought was there was not strong enough motivation to commit this murder. And it was like it was a deflated balloon at the end of the book. So there was obviously nothing I'm going to say about what happened. But, and then there's the 2 main characters. One is the sister of the woman who was murdered, and the other one is the police detective. So that was an interesting dynamic. There was a lot of police discussion and process. The author also used a technique for the reader to learn about how the murder happened and all of this. And it's like, to me, I've always thought that's kind of a lazy technique. And if you happen to read the book, you'll know. It was a good read. It was, again, plot and character driven. I liked the writing. And so it was fun until I got to the end and I'm like, oh, come on, not another one. Yeah, those are the 3 books I finished last week. So, what am I currently reading? I'm reading a bunch of stuff, and I was going to show you a TBR, but with a couple of exceptions, I'm currently reading all of these books. So, for George Eliot read-along for 2021, we're reading The Mill on the Floss for July. Just started this one. I think we're going to have an introductory check-in this weekend for anybody who's also reading it and is interested, if you're on the Voxer group. So far so good. I think I've read 4 or 5 chapters, and we'll be reading this through the entire month of July. And for the month of July, which is Jane Austen July, I am in a read-along with 3 other booktubers, Courtney Ferreter, Antonisha Lachey from Mrs. Moody Reader, and Misa from Books and Sushi, and we are all reading Emma by Jane Austen. This is one of the Jane Austen novels I haven't read, and I think I've only read 2, but I've seen some of the movies, so I do know some of the plot lines. But I've never read Emma. I saw the movie with Gwyneth Paltrow, and I enjoyed it many years ago. And once I'm done with the book, I think I'm going to watch the newer version that just came out a few years ago. So that's for Jane Austen July. Again, I'm not going to follow all of the prompts for the month of Jane Austen. I will link everybody's channels below, all of the hosts of Jane Austen July, and my booktuber read-along friends who are also reading it with me. I'm going to link everybody's channels. This is Emma Woodhouse is a wealthy, exquisite, and thoroughly well-deluded young woman who has lived in the world with very little to distress or vex her. That's kind of the opening of the book. And the main plot line is Emma is a young woman whose governess and best friend has gone off and gotten married. So she's left alone with her aging father. And one of her favorite things in life is to be a matchmaker. So she claims to have matchmaked her governess's wedding and relationship with her husband. And in order to fill her time and keep her occupied, she wants to do another match. She wants to perform another match and see a couple get married. So that's kind of our opening plot line. Let's see. Didi from Brown Girl Reading is hosting a read-along for the month of July on Goodreads, and it's her Read Soul Lit choice for July, and this is The Old Drift by Namwali Serpell. And I wasn't going to schedule any more scheduled read-alongs or anything for July, but once I saw this, I've owned the book for a while, so I've wanted to read it, and this was the perfect opportunity. The Old Drift. On the banks of the Zambezi River, a few miles from the majestic Victoria Falls, there was once a colonial settlement called the Old Drift. Here begins the epic story of a small African nation told by a mysterious swarm that calls itself man's greatest nemesis. The tale, a playful panorama of history, fairy tale, romance, and science fiction. The moral, to err is human. And Namwali Serpell is a Zambian writer who teaches at the University of California, Berkeley, according to her bio on the blurb. She received a Rona Jaffrey Foundation Writers Award for Women Writers in 2011 and was selected for the Africa 39, the 2014 Hay Festival project to identify the best African writers under 40. She won the 2015 Caine Prize for African Writing, and The Old Drift is her debut novel. So I've read the first chapter and intro or something, and so far I love the writing, so we'll see how that goes. The other two books that I am currently reading, I am listening to A Promised Land from Barack Obama on audio, the old school CDs from my library. I am on the last 3 CDs. Heidi, I have 3 more to go. I've been listening to this for about a month, so I'm almost done with it. Again, for the BookTube Prize, so I can't describe it or discuss it. And the last book I have for the BookTube Prize, I'm reading nonfiction, and I had not read any of the 6 books, and I got 2 of the longest. So I'm also reading Red Comet by Heather Clark. And I'm a decent amount in for the amount of time that I have. And this one I will read for as much of July as I can before we have to put in our ballots. The other one, there's 2 other books that I will be reading in July. This one is You Must Remember This by Joyce Carol Oates. This is the Barter Hordes Backlist book club selection for July. And Joyce Carol Oates is a prolific author and professor. She's in her 80s. She's been writing for God knows how long, but forever. And an industrial working-class town in upstate New York is the setting for Joyce Carol Oates' epic novel of an American family in the 50s. You Must Remember This is the story of the Stevicks, Lyle and Hannah, trapped in a frustrating marriage, their idealistic, ambitious son, Warren, and 15-year-old Enid Maria, who becomes caught up in a secret sexual relationship with her uncle Felix, a professional boxer twice her age. And one of the things that Joyce Carol Oates tends to write a lot about is families and family dysfunction. So that's going to be a July selection. The other book I have going for July is my In Real Life Book Club selection, which is nonfiction. It's called The Empire of Pain by Patrick Radden Keefe. And this is a documentation of the Sackler family. One of those is correct. They are the family that developed and marketed and sold the opioids OxyContin. If I'm correct, I will post a link below with the link to the book so you can read for yourself. And I think that is it. I wanted to quickly tell you about a very small Kindle haul that I just did over the last week or two. And I found 3 really great Kindle deals. The first one is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. The second one is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. And the last one, which I'm really excited about, is How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Cherie Jones. And I think they were all $1.99 Kindle deals. I will put the links down below. I'm not sure if those prices are still valid, but I'll provide the links below. If you're not a fan of Amazon and you don't like purchasing anything from them, but you have, if you have a Kindle, that's where I buy my Kindle books. So if you're not a fan, if you don't like the company, if you don't want to support them, I get that. But I still do have a Kindle, and I almost never buy anything full price. It's always when it goes on a deal. So I'd like to promote them the least amount I can and provide them as little of my money as I possibly can. The last thing I wanted to show you is I did receive my latest Library of America slip-cased book, and looks like this. Here's the box that it comes in. There's the spine of the book. This one is a tan color. And this one is a collection of African American poetry. Now, if I can successfully get it out of the box, I think I did it. And here's the book. These are very pretty naked hardbacks. This is the end papers. And it's African American poetry, and I'm really, really excited about this one. Let me see. African American poetry, 250 years of struggle and song. This is kind of the description of each of the book that comes in the slipcase. It's this little pamphlet. So usually has summary. If it's a novel, it has a summary of the novel. There's many, many, many amazing contributors to this collection of African American poetry. So I'm not sponsored by Library of America or anything, but what they basically do is they take a survey of your reading interest, and you get to tell them which books you would like them to send you. And they do send you a surprise book every 6 to 8 weeks, but it comes off of your list that you've already told them, I don't want to receive these, I want to receive something from this group over here. And this was one of the ones I indicated I would like to get, and that's what I received in this came in the last month or two. So just wanted to show you that one. That's it for me for today. It's a cloudy, drizzly day here in New Hampshire, and I'm going to do some housework and some reading and enjoy the quiet time. I think it's going to be a rainy day weekend for 4th of July. We're really not fireworks fans. You know, fireworks in the U.S., depending on where they hold them, is so crowded and such a shady atmosphere in my area anyway, that we just really don't take part. Sometimes there's a few places we can drive to and see them without having to go to the event location, and we might do that. We have a Lowe's parking lot that is pretty good for viewing fireworks. And that's it for me. I don't know why I even told you all that. So write me a comment down below. Let me know if you've read any of the books or if you're excited about any of them. I don't remember when the end of the BookTube prize is coming up, when we have to get our votes in, but very early in August, you'll find out what I thought about each of the 6 books that I've read. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think I did pretty good on my reading progress. I'm really ahead of myself, so go me. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one, everybody. Bye.